Toronto Shock like a 2019 champions!
There are moments that shape us. Moments of triumph. Moments of defeat. Moments that move us. And moments that change us. But this moment defines us.
What a rocket! Who's gonna stop Architect now? That's a huge shatter! This is carnage!
Urster just aced it.
Shax just absolutely destroys the entire team! The Shock now have one more chance. Should we go, but this must be big! San Francisco, this is huge! Unbelievable! Seoul Dynasty say thank you very much! We're going to the semis! The Vancouver Titans secure the championship in the Pacific Division!
NYXL, they don't play by the rules.
Millions of fans, thousands of miles traveled, hundreds of incredible moments from across the globe. 20 teams, 6 countries, the best players in the world. All with one goal. This moment, this is our moment. Welcome home.
New York City, let me hear you! What is up, everybody? I am Chris Puckett, and it has been 132 days since we last saw some official Overwatch League action. But today, that wait is over. You guys ready? We've got Paris in the building. We've got London in the building. We've got Toronto Defiant in the building today. But most importantly, we have your NYXL here today. Our first 2 seasons have been so incredible, but today marks opening day of the 2020 Overwatch League season. So ladies and gentlemen, make some noise and let the games begin as we send it to our casters, Uber and Mr. X.
What's up, New York?
Hey.
Damn, it's good to be back. 2018 was the last time we were in this city, and this time now, we're going to take things up a notch. The Overwatch League has come home, and as far as I'm concerned, so have we. It's a pleasure to be back.
New York actually gets to play in New York this time. So, you know, when we were in the Barclays Center.
I hear you.
Yeah, we actually thought they were going to be in the finals. They didn't make it that year, but it'll be good to see them play their first home game later today.
But expectations are as high as ever for the home team, but also for many others. Let's quickly have a look at our schedule for the day as we get our first look at our teams heading into the 2020 season. Our first matchup, Toronto Defiant, Paris Eternal. 2 teams that kind of dodged the spotlight last season.
Yeah, and a lot of changes for both of these rosters in the offseason, right? Paris going with more of a mixed roster, Toronto bringing in a lot of familiar faces from seasons 1 and 2 of the Overwatch League onto their roster.
And of course, after that match, it is a bit of a grudge match. It is going to be NYXL going up against the London Spitfire. A different look for the Spitfire, but I tell you what, the animosity is absolutely still going to be present. But let's focus in on this one, right? Both these teams dodged the spotlight. Let's put them under the microscope now. 14th and 17th place, respectively, last season between Paris and Toronto here. Neither of the teams really making a big splash.
No, not making a big splash at all last season, but they've given their fans for their cities a reason to care about them this season, right? Toronto, you bring in Surefour, and then on the Paris Eternal side, you bring a lot of players from Element Mystic. Sparkle, he'll make his debut a little bit later in the season, but I'm interested to see how this roster works out, right? You bring in 3 players from Element Mystic, very good team. from Korean contenders. How do they mesh with some of the players that they hold over from last season?
I mean, it's a huge change. I spoke earlier to Gray, and he said, this isn't just a couple of players coming in. This is a new team. Coaching staff change, because Rush came over as well with these 3-element Mystic players, 2 of which who are currently still ineligible to participate. Just Exi that can actually play right now. So we will see this team evolve, and of course departing some old guard names here. Shadowburn, Danye, Finzi, and Cloudy sort of move away from this team. Big changes. FD God comes into the roster, which is, I mean, a player who really stood up in the World Cup for France. He just got off the plane, by the way.
Yeah, and then I know you bring in No Smite, who he was with the Hangzhou Spark last year, Smex as well. We won't be seeing Smex today. Put out a tweet earlier that he didn't make the trip.
Under the weather.
Yeah, under the weather, so we won't see Smex today, which will cause a little bit of an interesting lineup here for the Paris term.
But let's pivot now to the Toronto Defiant, who look completely different than they did last year, picking up, I'll be honest, picking up some huge names in the offseason. First look at the departures. Ivy, I'm37, the mic stealer, of course. Yakpong, of course, the main tank. Sharik.
Commissioner, and then he's not in here.
No, he's probably working on like a traditional sports league now. He's probably running the NFL. Gods and Aid depart this roster. I believe sort of Roki's still in the coaching staff of this team, but I mean, this is ridiculous. Full Canadian, by the way. Agilities and Shore4 added to this team. Nevix, he spent most of the time on the sideline for the San Francisco Shock.
I mean, those additions look like a starting lineup on paper, right? So you bring in a lot of talent here for Toronto. You're trying to reshape this team and really build it around Shore4, right? I think Shore4 is a star player that we've seen the first 2 years of the Overwatch League. Very talented, damage dealer.
Whatever you do, don't call him passive.
He's got strong mechanics, and I think he also backs it up with really good game knowledge. And I think if he can bring some of that to the rest of the team, right? They play around him, kind of adopt some of that style. I think you can see them really kind of place much higher in the standings than they did last year.
I mean, let's talk Agilities and Kareev, the synergy there. These two are the best of friends, pretty much inseparable. Every time we saw them, of course, under the Valiant roster, they were always hanging out. They love just pestering each other and having a good time. So morale definitely going to be high on this roster. We've given everyone a bit of a primer to the Toronto Defiant. Let's get to know the team a little better. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to rise together and make some noise as our first team for the 2020 season takes to the stage. It is the Toronto Defiant.
We got these guys looking tough in that music video.
There was
you want to see Logix in an alley at night in Toronto?
He was strutting. Common theme, hoodies and climbing up things, whether it's ladders or stairs. I guess that's what they do out there. Felt like Gotham City.
Yeah, so you won't see Shore4 here in the starting lineup. The first map will be Lijiang Tower, so you see Agilities in there. I think maybe some Pharah play comes in. And then we're going to see Beast and Nevix. You know, heard Johnny and the guys in the desk talk about. No, Beast needs to step up, play big for this team in that main tank role. We'll get to see him here early. Nevix is a pickup a lot of people excited about for Toronto. Comes over from the San Francisco Shock. A lot of people think he was a starting quality off tank last year. It's just they have Troyovin, right? And not a lot of playing time down there. So excited to see Nevix get more shots at playing this year.
Nevix started his career as a Mercy player, then became a fantastic DPS and a Genji especially, and then a tank. He's done everything, and now he gets to show his stuff here on the stage. He's a man of few words. Nevix doesn't have a lot to say, but when it comes to the play, he lets that do all the talking. And we saw Kellex, obviously a fixture on the Boston Uprising. World Cup performance for Denmark, very solid. They looked excellent as a national squad.
Yeah, like we mentioned, a lot of familiar faces from the Overwatch League's first 2 seasons. Obviously, they were not on Toronto. They come from a lot of different teams, but a lot of good experienced talent coming into this Defiant roster.
On the other side, the flame still burns brightly. Make some noise, New York, for the Paris Eternal. Paris start last season, Matt, by coming out of the gates and demolishing the London Spitfire. They started strong, definitely fell off. A strong European core for this team. They could not quite find their footing. Wholesale changes now and some new faces to hit the stage.
You know, I mentioned Smex not being here earlier. That changes things a little bit here for the Paris Eternal because Benbest and Nosmite traditionally both main tanks. You know, you can play 2 shield tanks now. I'm sure that's a surprise to a lot of people at home. You can see 2 shields here at a time. I expect you to see that quite often. And FD got, we also mentioned that as well, and he got in late. So we'll see how that affects him.
Also, I'm very curious to see what kind of look we get from the Eternals. See, Soon is actually not on the stage to start off this particular match. So it'll be Exi and Nico there, probably piloting those damage dealer roles here. Nosmite did not get a ton of playtime for the Spark last season, a little bit in stage 1, but eventually was eclipsed by Gushui as he found his footing in that roster. Hip returns, of course, to the stage, a mainstay for the Eternal in the previous season, and these guys have a lot to prove. So does this gentleman on your screen. FD God, domestically a bit of a god, but internationally now he has to show up.
And I don't think you will get a great gauge of where the Paris Eternal is until you see everybody kind of come into play, right? When you see Sparkle, you see Humvee come into play. I think that's when you'll really kind of get a gauge. Also Smex, right? Where this team is at. I think they're judging them off of what happens in this game, good or bad, I think would be a little bit rough. So the map set here, take a look. Now, guys, I've been telling you the first 2 years, every map matters.
You did say that a lot.
I may have over-exaggerated that a little bit. we went back, we were like, hey, look.
No, you lied.
First to 3, I did. First to 3 now will win you the series. Game modes for game maps 2 and 3 and 4 will rotate. So let's say you see a 3-0, you may not see an Assault or an Escort or a hybrid map, depending on the week. We will always kick things off with Control, starting on Lijiang Tower here.
Yeah, and a great map to kind of gauge these 2 teams out of the gates. It's much more of a fundamental brand of Overwatch, focused more on the team fights and the setups there, maybe less so on snowballing and trying to get those advantages and blow them out as you often see on payload-based maps. A lot of things from these teams. I'm curious to see Beast Halo now under the lights on that tank role. He'll have to work alongside Nevix to keep the Eternal at bay.
But you know what, this may be a good testing ground for them and something they can build some confidence off of, because this may not have been the actual starting tank line for Paris, depending on how long they've known Smex is not going to be able to make the flight and get out here. So this may be one where, you know, Toronto, they've been able to practice this in the offseason a lot between Beast and Nevix. They may have a little bit more chemistry together than Paris Eternal with Benbest and Nosmite.
A lot of fun here, and we saw Kellex on your screen just beforehand, and you know, he actually had some fantastic stats on main supports as a survivalist. Let's see if he can hang in this particular matchup now. It all begins here in 2020 in the city that never sleeps at Lijiang Tower.
We'll see what both teams decide to come out with off at the start. I think early on, a lot of teams, they've been screaming, obviously, leading up until this point. Now with Hero Pool starting in week 5, it'll be interesting to see how teams incorporate a lot of the heroes in, preparing for that. Looks like at the start, at least, you'll see the double main tank set up here for the Paris Eternal. And you kind of expected potentially this with 2 main tanks in.
Nevix on the off tank, he's going to start with the DV here. He's going to face a lot of the scrutiny early on. Nosmite tries to put his bubble down early, but it's blown up awfully fast. And this is where the Maze and Symmetra start to get to work. It's Beast Halo going down early here. Not ideal to lose to a Reinhardt so early in the fight. There's no shielding at all remaining for Toronto. Now it's just about getting the damage to stick. Mr. Logix opens up the account, getting rid of Nosmite, but he's shut down soon after. And the Paris Eternal start with position on the point. Only 3 players left for Toronto. They'll probably just have to try and stagger this fight.
And for Paris, right, the point of this composition that they're playing is for point control, right? You play the Moira for the high healing, able to just heal everybody up, do some damage in that AoE. On the Mei, Nico can split some players off, but really, you know, the Symmetra only gets value if you can play from the point, especially with the double main tank setup.
Beast Halo here, maybe the recipient of a nano boost from Karibo. Logix does not have Death Blossom yet. Still get a heck of a lot done, even though on this patch, Reaper's healing is slightly reduced. It's lifesteal based on healing damage. See Karibo, one of our role stars. We haven't talked about too much yet. Well, a chance to expand on that a little bit later. It's a Nana boost for Logix. He's going to go in, but he's knocked away pretty quickly. Shield up, Ben Best trying to go for the Earth Shatter. There's a Symmetra barrier across the map, and Logix has finally found himself the Blizzard throw down. This is going to force Nico into Ice Block. He pops out at just the right time. Great wall. Beast tries to go for the pin, and he was denied by Nico.
And it's actually a great Metro teleport there from Exi that he actually puts it from the backside of the point to the front. You can disengage from that Reaper through the Symmetra teleporter, and he's able to get a D-Mech onto the D.Va, pick up another kill as well. So the Symmetra paying off, and the Symmetra is a very risky pick here because if you do not get control of the point first, it's very difficult to retake with the Sim.
And you need 2 shields to really set her up because she can't hold up in the heat that well. Logix over the edge. Shefty gone, looking good early. Going to try and battle it out a little bit with Kellex over the course of this fight, but it's everyone over the edge here for Toronto as that fight was over before it began. 80% to 0.
You stay on the Reinhardt here for Toronto. You have the Shatter, but I mean, you have the double shield set up for Paris. You can get away with things through the Symmetra teleport. You have a Mei wall, a lot to just split the players off. Toronto to make it tough. The Shatter comes in from Beast.
They had to make a play. No other choice. Beast Halo looking for an opening, but finding absolutely nothing. There's a supercharger on the point. Logix trying to make a difference with the Death Blossom, but finds absolutely nothing. Another barrier thrown up here by Exi, and there's nothing Toronto can do. Cut down one by one, and the Paris Eternal looking very solid here. They will take the first round of the 2020 season.
Going into our next point, we'll see if Toronto makes any adjustments in terms of composition. Don't expect to see the Symmetra again. Symmetra's really only effective like on those close quarter points, then at the start of rounds, and see if they decide to stay with it. Paris, I think you probably switch off a bit. I know good also at the teleporter at the start to get a little bit of an advantage, get the Lucio boost a little bit further away.
I mean, you saw the barrier that Exi threw up in that last fight. Completely shuts down Beast Halo's attempt at a Shatter. So many things that Toronto tried to throw in there were negated by that big old wall.
You know, even that last fight, right? It looks like Toronto's making things happen. You look at the health bars, not really much is going on. I mean, Paris is pretty healthy all throughout that fight. So, see if the Symmetra comes into play yet again for the entire point. Looks like they want to play it again. So, interesting calls here from Paris early.
Look at Exi's positioning. Always make sure there's a shield between him and the enemy. He obviously can shoot through many of those, and he's happy to shoot shields. It only charges him up more, and that's what happens if he's caught out in the open for too long. But it's a trade kill. Exi threw down a turret and picked up Logix after he found a Symmetra. Pip as well, trying to stay behind Ben Best and keep him nice and topped up. The Eternal will now rotate over to the point, and already 60% might coalescence, so we'll see those come out fairly soon. Kariba Nano Boost here for Beast, or maybe Logix as it returns to the fight. He almost had to fade there to get away from the wall, but he's able to squeeze just in between it. Another kill for Exi. Agility's down, and already the Element Mystic contingent is showing up in a big way.
And, you know, we talk about it as
Yikes.
he just, I mean, this is not fun to be on the receiving end of. As Symmetra B, once it's charged up, does a ton of damage, but you know, we talk about how Symmetra is good against like double shields, also very effective against D.Va, right? And the defense matrix can eat a lot of the projectiles.
She can't mitigate any of Symmetra's primary fire.
Does absolutely nothing against Symmetra. So Symmetra can get the damage on a D.Va, chunk D.Va down, and also get stronger while doing it, right?
And then just turn around and just slow down Beast Halo's shield and keep that ammo flowing. Exi setting up here. Notice those small turrets placed on either side of the entrance. Agilities, that wasn't his Blizzard. Nico got his out first, and now the Eternal look to try and capitalize. Exi playing safe though, was on the flank for a moment. All of the Eternal rotate, but that's the Shatter. Finally a connection for Beast Halo. Ben Best knocked to the ground, and it's a follow-up charge here for the new addition. Blizzard now from Agilities. Who can he catch in this one? Ben Best has already gone down, and Hip fares no better. Nico trying to hold up here, but finally the Defiant breakthrough. Find their first team fight win.
They got to invest a sound barrier there even after getting first blood in that fight to be able to take the point. Agilities also ends up using his Blizzard. Paris will come back. They do have the advantage in terms of percentage here, and you have that sound barrier to use. So self-destruct not as useful here. He's going to go with a teleporter on the backside with a Nano Boost.
TP down, but look at the Eternal. They were already repositioned. Logix can't reach them. He used his teleport, and that Nano Boost now goes to waste. At least he'll have a Death Blossom to use in this next fight, but we'll have to wait till that wall's gone. Nevix is struggling. Nevix also can't really shut down the Mei damage at either, Matt. Not the primary fire. He'll get frozen all the time. Big
Shatter.
Fire strike from Beast to follow up the Shatter. That's what the Defiant needed.
And that time his Shatter actually gets three players, and you're able to clean those up. so it's big to be able to control the point. So Exo switch off of Symmetra and go McCree.
Okay.
So they don't want to play in terms of like a mirror in terms of damage dealers. They want to opt to go with McCree here instead of the Reaper.
You feel like he has the better range against Logics and Agilities, Mei and Reaper both. In fact, the Beyblade composition that was mainly Mei and Reaper back in the day was countered by good McCree play, but it was always a skill matchup, wasn't
Loosely
it?
countered by
Yeah, it wasn't a straight counter, exactly. Benbest knocked around a little bit, keeping the shield up for the time being. That's a Blizzard now from Paris. They baited Toronto forward. They tempted them in. And it's going to cost Toronto dearly. Frozen up, and Paris win a fairly cheap team fight. It's honestly just the Blizzard that nets the win.
I mean, now you're going to have this Coalescence for the end. Probably going to get a Supercharger during this fight as well. Double support ults for Toronto, but it may be a little bit split trying to touch the point and send it into OT.
Benbest playing behind the pillar just in case a Shatter is headed his way, but Beast Halo doesn't have it online yet. Sound barrier for Toronto. They had to invest everything in this fight and will force the Coalescence out from him, but it's 99 to 51. The Defiant have to come up with something and real quick. They're trying to pressure down Exy. Benbest taking a fair bit of damage, but look at the off angle. Nevic's trying to push the McCree away, and Exy is shut down, but the rest of the Eternal get the job done. Eventually Nevic's does fall, desuited and disposed of. Kallax are going to try and stay alive around the middle, but he's getting slapped down by Hip, and the Paris Eternal will take Lijiang Tower.
They make it look pretty easy too. Nice use of ultimates from Paris. Very impressive we saw from Exy early on. His Overwatch League debut on the Symmetra and the McCree. We'll see if Toronto has answers in that too.
Well, doesn't look like communication's an issue so far. Paris put their best foot forward to start with, and they're looking sharp indeed. Toronto now to see if they can recover as they look to make a strong map 2 of it here in NYC for the opening weekend. We'll be back with that too.
The Overwatch League.
Welcome back to New York, and it is getting loud in here. Before though, we get into our next map, it's a new season, and we've got some big changes in 2020. So who better to walk us through it all than the new guy on the casting block? Jake, take it away.
The third season of the Overwatch League is underway, so it's time to take a look at what's new in 2020. First off, the season is no longer divided into 4 stages, which means no more stage playoffs. Instead, we're introducing our own mid-season tournament, where 4 teams, the 2 conference leaders and 2 wildcard teams, will face off for over $1 million during All-Star Weekend. Additionally, to build up new and existing regional rivalries, the Atlantic and Pacific conferences are now broken down into 4 divisions: East and West in the Pacific, and North and South in the Atlantic. We've also moved to a first-to-3 map format, meaning once a team wins 3 maps, the match is over. To make sure all 20 teams get a fair share of map variety, we'll be rotating the map type order throughout the year as well. But the biggest change in 2020? We're hitting the road. We'll be traveling to teams' home cities throughout the entire season, bringing the Overwatch League right to your own backyard. So get ready, Overwatch League fans, because this season, we're coming home.
I'll tell you what, we got ourselves a rowdy bunch of folks here in the Hammerstein Ballroom, don't we? New York know how to kick things off with a bang. And it's a pleasure to be here. Guys, already 1 map in, but we wanted to take a chance to have a chat with someone very special here. Imom, thank you so much for joining us in the caster booth, man.
Oh my God, thank you for having me. This is the first time I've ever done something like this. This is amazing.
I mean, it is electric here, but this is what happens when we go on the road, man. All of these fan bases just ready to turn up for their teams. You guys have a bit of history, don't you, man?
We played some Call of Duty with each other.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of play Call of Duty. I don't know if you're really playing at the time.
I was sick. I'm great at video games.
Okay.
Everybody out there knows that.
God.
Yeah. I mean, you became a coach, though.
Yeah, but it's all right.
That's why I'm a streamer, though, too. So, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. It both worked out.
Yeah, it worked out. Okay.
Jeff, obviously, you know, your stream's huge, blowing up at the moment as well. You've been pretty much every day out there. You know, it's fantastic to watch. Very positive, you know, attitude and always banging out those games. Tell us, how does it feel to be out here at a homestander to see the atmosphere at one of these events?
I mean, I won't lie to you guys. New York has been literally amazing. It is. The crowd here has been wild. You hear that? That's amazing. I love that. I love hearing a crowd like that. New York's been awesome. I came here, I didn't know what to expect, and everybody here has been amazing. The matches were great. It was good to see 2 different styles of comps, right? We saw kind of a double shield comp, and we saw like a Rhine Diva comp with like Symmetra. Like, I love that play where they just teleported to the point, grabbed it, and people don't realize something like that can be crazy because they were able to grab the point, and then they're forced to use ultimates to take it back, and then that actually was pretty much the game changer. So
a lot going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a huge defining point of map 1, right? The Symmetra play and coming in and just point control for the Paris Eternal, which definitely, I think, caught Toronto off guard a little bit. Nobody expects a Symmetra. Well, maybe 1 point, but after that,
in my rank games, I'm used to it. So
I mean, ranked stuff out there.
You're smiling the whole time, bro. That's the main
thing.
Absolutely.
I have a good time all the time. It's great.
How do you always stay so positive? Not that I get angry when I play ranked.
Aggressive.
But
you know, I just love what I do. That's it. I honestly, when I just play games, I just love what I do, get to make people happy, and that's pretty much what it is for me. I don't worry about everything else.
If you guys ever get in my games, just remember, I love you guys too.
Yeah.
But I still get angry.
I
can't do that.
True.
You're passive aggressive. I'm the aggressive.
Yeah. I'm the in between.
So you're out here now. Obviously, you headed back to stream sort of after this event. What's coming up for you, man? Like, I know things are starting to pick up for your stream, especially.
I literally stream every day. Yeah. I just stream Overwatch every single day. I've been having a blast with it. I'm excited to be able to go to some of these events. I might actually hit up one in Boston in April, which I'm sorry, everybody. Listen, I'm cheering for NYXL against, you know. I just said I'm cheering for NYXL!
I was going to say, New York crowd, you say Boston. I mean,
I'm from Massachusetts, but I'm here to support
you should have told the people that.
Cut, get
out
of here. We got a security escort for you. It's going to be fun. Hey, stick around for a bit. We're going to have a look at the substitutes here coming into our next map as we keep kicking things up. Matt, it is Surefour back in the hot seat.
Yes, you had Surefour not playing map number 1. I thought he'd be a huge addition for this Toronto team, kind of be a mainstay in the lineup, but doesn't play control. Logic's obviously very explosive on heroes like Kree. Now we didn't get to see him play those in the first map, but excited to see Surefour come in here for Eigenball.
Yeah, we were obviously a ton of just Reaper from Logic's on Lijiang in general. It looked like the Defiant were pretty locked into the kind of style they were trying to play. Gray subs in here for Hip as well, and if you remember Gray from last season, his Ana play was spectacular. He's a flex support aficionado in general.
Who are you rooting for, Jeff?
What was that?
Who are you rooting for here?
Who am I rooting for here? Well, I do love Gray. He's really good at Tweet XD, which is one of my favorite things in the world. I love Gray. Surefour's actually a great substitute. He's a well-rounded player. Just has a very explosive play style to him, too, which allows him to pop off all the time. It's going to be really interesting to see what they do with that substitute.
Incredibly smart player as well.
Oh, absolutely. Very smart player.
There are your substitutes coming into map number 2. And as you can probably see on your screen a little bit there, we have a preview of what we may see from Surefour Must feel good. I mean, two Canadians sat shoulder to shoulder here as they load in. Jess, been a pleasure to have you with us in the caster booth, man. Thanks for joining us and enjoy the rest of the homestand.
Good luck with the cast. You guys are doing great.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, Archivol is coming up for map number 2. Our hybrid map, and when it comes to playing around the points, so far the Paris Eternal looked like they had it on lock, Matt.
So now we'll see Paris start things off on defense. So we have a little bit better idea. We can talk about their comp. So Gray comes in. He's going to play that Baptiste. So very strong in terms of all the things that he can do as a hero, right? Puts out good damage. Even better than 76 at times. And the immortality field, the self-healing, the mobility, amp matrix, just a really powerful hero in the right player's hands.
On this patch, the recovery time between his 3-shot bursts has been increased, and he does a little bit less healing, but still, that immortality field. Yeah.
Still strong.
Immortality field also weakens slightly in terms of the durability of the drone that projects it. But Toronto Defiant are on the attacking side here, so Surefour comes in on the Reaper. So Reaper May for the Defiant with the Ana.
And you wonder, Surefour comes in, plays the same thing as Logix. Maybe it's just a little bit more of that mental game, right? Maybe some more communication, some more kind of guiding the team right from the damage dealer role. He gets stunned down from the backside.
Yeah, very quickly, Kariv had to deploy the biotic grenade to keep Surefour topped up. That was Exy just throwing the flashbang in there.
Also, look how fast Kariv is getting close towards that nano boost already. He's going to have it in a second.
Oh, Surefour drops in. That God wasn't ready for that. It was actually no spike that Surefour was actually going for.
I was like, not sure he's the target, but all right.
All planned. Now, the Eternal are going to get shut down here. They do have 2 main tank players in the game, so they're playing 2 main tanks. But once they get flanked by someone like Surefour, they're going to struggle, and this will be dragged out a little bit.
Do have FD God on the point here for Paris, just kind of stalling it out for a little bit longer, but it's going to be a very clean take here for the Toronto Defiant. So see the addition of Surefour coming in off the bench helps him greatly as he has 3 final blows in that first fight. 5 eliminations and 5 kill contributions during that, pretty much putting the tag on everybody.
You might remember that Nico's designation last season was actually more as a flex tank player.
Yeah.
Didn't see a lot of him playing DPS, but for a long time, he was a projectile DPS player back on French rosters on that Rogue team, and May was definitely one of his go-tos along with the Genji. But here's Surefour. Great shadow to shut it down, though. Ben Best, he preempted that push and quietened down the Defiant awfully fast. He does have the track back a little bit here. He's not getting a ton of healing. He's now coming in for the Defiant. The win taken from their sails, and Ben Best looks to chase them back into the hole.
And the thing that with Paris playing the Reinhardt and the Orisa is obviously no mobility between those 2 characters, so you're going to have to really put a lot of healing resources into them to keep them alive, because with Surefour and the likes going to get behind, trying to make plays, it's going to be difficult to keep them up, but no difficulties keeping them up right now, because Gray and Exy just getting into the spawn here of Toronto. So Toronto's going to have to back all the way up.
Toronto tried to disengage that fight. They threw up the wall from agilities when the Blizzard came down, but they could not escape. Too many methods for the Paris Eternal to reach them as they tried to backtrack. But here we have a Shadow, we have Sound Barrier, and we're close to a Death Blossom for Toronto. Kariv is just pumping out nano boosts.
It's hard for Surefour to even get like a teleport to the high ground though, because of this degree, right? And he needs the sight line. The way he's shooting, like you'll see where he goes pretty quickly.
He's on the high ground. Sound Barrier from the Defiant just to let them get to the fight. But look at the Eternal, they back up, and the threat generated by Nico alone prevents Beast from walking up towards this Orisa barrier. A supercharge has been taken down. Kellex eventually getting rid of it, and Beast Halo now just trying to accost No Smite very quickly. Immortality Field's deployed, but Surefour cuts him down. Death Blossom, and Kellex gets involved for 2.
But that's why you play close to the door, though, if you're Paris, right? They have to invest self-destruct, Sound Barrier, Nano Boost, Death Blossom to get the cart moving again. That's why you see so many teams, once that point A pops, they play close to that big gate. You're able to just get the other team to just burn some ultimates to get out. Now here, this is what Toronto needs to do. They need to push up to the spawn, get an early pick-off, and stagger Paris some more.
That is so smart. And, we'll talk about it later. Agility's going to go for the Blizzard now, and yeah, the Eternal, they didn't need any more reason to back out of that fight, but they do anyway. So Agility's places the wall lengthways, so they can still shoot at the Eternal while they're stuck in the room instead of blocking them completely. Paris have to use a Sound Barrier now to get out, but they are ready to fight. A shatter attempt, but Exy, oh, this could be nasty. No, he's shut down. It's Kariv. Welcome back.
That's a welcome to the Overwatch League moment right there, right? Kareem, he's done that too many times in the past. This Beast cleans up 2 here. The shatter from Benbest, not enough to hold point B. Toronto get that second checkpoint.
I mean, we knew what to expect from Kareem. For a time, moonlighting as a Widowmaker player, primarily on the Valiant. That was sublime. It would have been at least 2 or 3 kills there potentially from Xyz's Deadeye. Obviously now, Deadeye doesn't lock your screen. A little bit easy to get those multi-kills.
I mean, that's a great point. I mean, when he has that Deadeye, there's 2 players knocked to the ground for Toronto from the shatter from Benbest. So definitely would have been some secured kills and potentially a longer hold from Paris.
Blizzard here, Nico wants the Defiant to push up. He doesn't want to get burst down. Oh, that was great timing from Nico. Gets the ice block and then the Blizzard as a response. The Defiant, 1 minute they're going in, the next they're on the way out.
It's a beautiful wall from Nico, and then he also gets that Blizzard down that really saves him. It's a nice shatter there from Beast. That's why Mei is so disruptive. She's just a nuisance to deal with sometimes, right? Going up against a good Mei, a Mei that's placing their walls properly all the time. The slow, the right-click icicles, right? You're just pumping out tons of damage as well. That Mei can become pretty difficult to deal with, especially at these close chokes.
I mean, if Nico doesn't ice block himself at just the right time, Paris lose the fight.
Yeah, I mean, he drops as well, right?
An amplification matrix thrown out here by Gray. Oh, Benbest gets a fire strike. That's an insta-kill there if it's going to hit a 200 health point target, which that's what Calyx is. Well, the wall's being thrown up here. Nano Boost being used on the Surefour. Hard to say whether it's to keep him alive or to get him to do damage. Either way, he's going to try and do both. Pushing forward, the Eternal trying to escape, but they're caught in a Blizzard, and Surefour will not stop.
I mean, if you don't have the Lucio in position for Paris with the heroes that you have, no mobility to get away, right? So they catch them playing close up. Gray will switch off of Baptiste. He'll go over to Moira here. Provide some big healing towards the end of the map.
Just under 2 minutes now remaining in the round, and the Defiant starting to find their feet a little more here. Oh, Surefour. No Smite peeks his head out of the door and immediately is taken down, and that is primarily his job. 2 main tanks, I mean, Reaper gets a lot of value here, up close and personal. Death Blossom, he actually doesn't wait till the sound barrier expires, he goes in for it anyway. That might have been ill-advised. Here's the Blizzard, self-destruct over the top, and Surefour, flash, double tap to the head, he's down. Agility steps up for 2 though. Dueling DPSs across these teams trying to keep their squads in the fight. And that payload has stopped, but the Defiant are there. And it's 1 minute and 23 seconds on the clock.
It's a really good first half for the Toronto Defiant. 1 minute plus in the time bank there on their offensive attack. They played it really smart from point A to point B. Agility's pushing up, getting those split offs at the door. Help them get the lead. We'll see Paris's offense after this.
Slow start for the Toronto Defiant on Lijiang Tower, but they bounce back here as we're heading into Eichenwald's second half. Toronto finished the map with some time in the bank as well. Swole, Jonak, Bronak. What a great Season 1 meme. Thank you, gents. Still working on getting that kind of flex.
It's great to see the NYXL crowd show up in a big way here. But little bit later, we'll see New York. Now we got this match still with Paris and Toronto. It looks like
FD God's wearing Sparkles jersey because he just got off the plane. Reasonable.
He's trying to channel some power.
Hey, yo, someone's going to wear it for now. Sparkles arriving.
Bro, get the jersey sales up. Sparkle jersey sales through the roof, bro.
Oh, yeah. Sparkle better be getting a cut of that, dog.
Yeah, right? He's got his jersey out on loan. It's Surefour on D. He'll play the McCree here for Toronto Defiance. So already early, seeing some McCree play from both teams. See if actually plays this sim again. Like we mentioned earlier on Lijiang Tower, the sim pretty effective against that D.Va if Nevix wants to commit to the meet.
Matt, you can cover a lot of ground with that teleporter, but also you can get onto the high ground behind the enemy team and set up with your Orisa and Reinhardt. You could be very hard to shift. So they bypass the choke entirely. So those shields for the Paris Eternal haven't taken a beating, and they're so close to the point already. This puts them in a great spot. Also allows Ben Best and the Reinhardt to get up and close and personal, start getting some charge and some damage.
Yeah, the thing they lose, though, is not really having, like, that front-loaded damage. Like, if you just kind of keep fighting here, if you're Toronto, you would think that Surefour is able to pump out enough damage to kind of mitigate what the Symmetra brings to the table.
There it is, Nevix getting rid of No Smite. D.Va's defense matrix doing a lot of work as the Eternal tried to cover that ground. So Immortality Field also used by Paris.
Yeah, the difference between this and what happened on Lijiang Tower, though, is, like, you don't have that high ground that the McCree can play out of. Yeah, I mean, that high ground may not matter, though, as players get split off here for Toronto. Melted. They lose Beast, and now Xy's really charged up on this sim.
And Nevix just ran away. He knew he couldn't face him down, but Xy, he's got to chase. Oh, Kellex, I feel you, bro. He's trying to dance his way out of there, but no escape for the Defiant.
Man, when Sim gets charged up, you see how fast Agilities was out on Mei. We know how tanky Mei is as a hero. To see him just get taken out that quickly, that'll be the point take for Toronto. They get the cart going.
That's right, coming up next, your first look at the NYXL for this year, going up against the Spitfire. Be out here on YouTube Gaming. Now Xy, let's see what he does with this wall. Okay, sets it up close. And there's a main wall just thrown in there, so what was he trying to do with this map?
I mean, at that point, it forces Toronto to push past the wall to get any value with the McCree.
All back up?
Yeah. So it backs them up a little bit. So it buys them some space to get the payload away from the game.
Oh, there it is. Surefour finding the clicks here. Man, such a prolific McCree player like 3 years ago. Xy's able to cut two down.
I mean, they still have not really dealt with this Symmetra well.
I mean, you have a sound barrier and you're charged up. You're basically 1v1 anyone. You can 1v3 against many of these heroes, and Xy's done exactly that.
He may switch here, though. As you move into the more open part of the map, I don't think you get as much value out of this, especially at range, right?
Oh, okay.
Oh, what hero is that? It's the Widowmaker.
So Xy, okay, so Xy back, on Element Mystic was one of those support players who played the sniper role. We saw that a fair bit in Korea. I mean, Korea was also one of those players. So, kind of like in the same way that Adora was, I believe.
And look, this puts a lot of pressure on the D.Va. What does the D.Va do? She has to fly all the way over here, put pressure on the Widowmaker. That allows you to take some more of the fight up in the cart.
Shadow there, that's a big one. No Smite, Grail knocked to the ground. The Eternal already hoping to do something with Nico's Blizzard, but they just got dominated. Fantastic Shadow from Beast Taylor in his debut.
But still, look at how much progress he made in a short amount of time. As that'll be a boop here from FD God. Sending Agilities over the side. This is still a fight, though, that Toronto should hold on and win. It's just FD God here. He'll fall to his death. So now you'll get a full reset here for Paris Eternal, and you're going to switch off of the Widowmaker as well. So you'll play the McCree. Still get that long-range damage, but you can play more in the medium to long range. You don't have to play so far away.
Do you feel like that's why Xy's making a switch here? I feel like he had a pretty good vantage point there with the Widowmaker to play to try and get his team across. Like, you said, like, maybe Nevix can chase him down on the D.Va, but it's a lot of ground to cover.
I think you go Widowmaker there. You get back into the fight quicker. If you're going to push the card all the way to the distance, he was the only one that was...
Just for that fight, right?
He was the only one in spawn who was making a change, where now if you play the McCree, you get the point. You can actually stay on McCree from B to C to complete the map.
Couple walls thrown up, Surefour into the backside, Immortality Field, pesky thing. Surefour tries to dispatch it, instead just decides to bypass it instead. Chasing down No Smite. And that payload ain't going anywhere.
I mean, nothing Xy can do
there.
Oh,
okay, bro.
Yeah, there you go.
He's back. The slow clap. Sometimes you see a flash of Tasumi, you know?
But, there's nothing you can do when you get a nano-boosted Reaper teleporting on you. I believe Nothing really you can do to counter that. So Xe does get a flash off on the Surefour, but still, just a lot of damage comes out from Surefour in the close range. Now looks like Paris, maybe going to try and sit up here on the high ground, maybe just trying to access this cart as fast as possible. You're going to be very close to a Blizzard. You want to kind of catch them off guard, get that Blizzard down.
It's like Paris Eternal are hoping Toronto engages onto them with that Reaper and follow it up. Toronto have just been sitting back quite happy now. Oh, the wall thrown up. Well, doesn't really matter. Xe's going to pop over the top of it. Gets agility. McCree definitely deals with Mei handily at medium to long range. And Xe heard Surefour. He knows he's here. Tried to chase him down. That's filthy.
Filthy stuff. I mean, the double ding, I think it's 3.
Matt, this is just one of 3 players coming from that Element Mystic squad, and he has already made a splash. This McCree is looking good, and this is not even thick McCree. This is 200 HP McCree.
And you have some more big additions who aren't playing for the Paris Eternal today. I think if you're a Paris fan, it's a fantastic start to see. I think you had a lot of questions how everybody was going to mesh together, how they were going to make it work.
Doesn't matter, just click heads, bro. Using Orisa barrier, Nevix just getting absolutely slammed. He's already desuited now. Surefour tries to rush the backline, but Xe had a flash with his name on it.
But look at this. I mean, they have to try and get the D.Va close, right? The D.Va gets beamed back. They're sending Surefour via the teleport to the back. And then Xe just does a phenomenal job. The flashbang just buys themselves some space, backs out, gives his team an advantage on the cart in terms of players. They're able to keep the car moving.
See, Nico here is just really trying to be of utility use to the Eternal. Only 2 final blows for him, less than Gray even has. But he's a pain to deal with. Freezing everybody up, controlling space with the walls. They want a good wall here in this next fight. You can see the Surefour trying to flank once more. The left screen. Here's your Deadeye. Screen isn't locked. Feels good, man. Doesn't find much with it. There was the defense matrix in play from Nevix to shut that down, but now he, in turn, will be shut down. Sound barrier for Toronto Defiant. They're going to go for it here, but Surefour cut down. He had a sound barrier. I guess it didn't affect him much. Beast Halo tries to go for the shatter. It's only Gray that was knocked down, and the amplification matrix was already in play, and Xe's having a party in the backline. Desperately, Kellex trying to stall out, but he's picked up at long range. This McCree play, so nasty. Surefour tries to drop him with the Depth Blossom. He's found himself one, but that's all he'll get. Kareev attempts to jump onto the payload. Nevix doesn't get there, though. And these 2 teams are separated only by 7 seconds on their respective attacks, man.
Yeah, Toronto still does it a little bit faster than the Paris Eternal, but I think one thing also to mention about Paris, right, when you have just a mixed roster, obviously different languages coming into play, they're doing a very good job, and you can tell the communication, the teamwork, and coordination is there. Surefour taking a lot of odd angles towards the end there on the Reaper, and actually able to track him all the time. That can't just be him, that has to be just a team effort. You know, he's trying to come towards the left-hand side from the high ground, then the backside of the staircase. They know exactly where Surefour is at all times on that Reaper. That if they can keep their McCree safe, Paris, they feel like they got a shot.
Let's have a look now at some of Xe's work earlier on. 18 final blows of a possible 44 for Xe. Huge kill participation. Look at his positioning, by the way. Always make sure there is one of his main tanks. I mean, it's nice to have 2 as a McCree that are in between him and the enemy team. His accuracy is actually kind of gross.
Nuts. That's what's great, though. I mean, every year, right, we see new players come in from contenders into the Overwatch League, and they just raise the bar in terms of talent every single time.
And obviously, Contenders' career always provides a large influx of these talented players and a fantastic infrastructure for esports greatness. So, both these teams, 44 kills apiece. Not really separate them at all. Xe now is back on the Symmetra here. We should expect to see a TP across the choke, and then they'll try and get up close and trade. He holds it, man. For what?
Well, I think you see that Toronto's playing further back on the point, right? So you don't need it to force them back. Like, if you TP'd up close, it would have forced them back right away. If they're already playing back, no reason to burn that cooldown.
That's a great immortality build from Gray there. Xe could have been in trouble. He was flashed by Surefour. Xe wants an off angle, but he can't go that left side while Surefour is watching him. He'll get destroyed at long range. TP is thrown down, it's to the high ground, it gets destroyed. So very quickly the Defiant see the Symmetra teleporter and get rid of it. That wall actually allows Xe to get up closer here.
They're just trying to either block the line of sight of the McCree or use the teleporter to get close to the McCree to take him out.
Oh my, Beast Halo, he was nano boosted and still taking a ton of damage. That mitigation doesn't protect him from Xe putting him in the microwave.
This isn't bad though for Toronto.
Deadeye, that Hulk almost helping Shore4 out. No Smite yanking him up into the air.
I mean, this fight has gone on forever. We're down below 10 seconds.
Benvest has to take a break. His shield is broken, and the Defiant are happy to stall this fight out. Beast Halo has an Earth Shadow, though, trying to stay healthy, stay back. Agilities gets in. Nico managed to get off the Blizzard, but there's the stop. Beast Halo can't follow up with his own Earth Shadow. Now the Blizzard on the Paris Eternal. Even with the sound barrier in play, it's not going to keep them up. The Toronto Defiant stand up tall here as they defend. The Paris Eternal don't look like they're going to make any more progress here. It is a full stop with no progress on point A.
Look, Toronto, they're racking up some ultimates. They're just kind of playing passive on the backside of the point. They know Paris's win condition there of a fight.
What's good?
There we go. They play that perfectly, Toronto. I thought, when Beast Halo, they get the big shatter and he falls and there's not a lot of follow-up. That was probably the scariest moment for the Toronto Defiant,
sure.
But Agilities with 2, it's Shore4 with 2, Agilities with 1 to close it out. So now let's see what comes from Toronto. Do they try anything different? Do they go with the May Reaper setup? Do they try something a little bit different to maybe catch them off guard? You saw the McCree from Paris on their defense. You assume they're going to run it again.
The McCree for Paris's defense obviously didn't last in that entire half. We did see XE have to switch it up a little bit.
But with Paris playing, Reinhardt and Orisa, you have the ability here for Toronto with the D.Va in play. And Reaper, Reaper, obviously the self-teleport, great. And then just the mobility of D.Va to kind of circumvent those tanks and maybe kind of collapse on the McCree a little bit faster, right? In those open spaces, Reaper doesn't really care, or D.Va for the May wall where they're in the teleport range. So you're able to get around Nico's wall, maybe get XE out of the fight. That if you feel like, with how good he's been on the McCree, if you get him out of the fight, you feel like pretty good about taking this map if you're Toronto.
The Defiant just want to try and cross the gap by taking as little damage as possible. And that's why the Eternal playing a little bit further forward in this choke with Benvest front and center. They back off now, maybe seeing some of this composition. Nemix will be the first in. He'll try and stand behind his front line and preserve that Reinhardt shield a little bit with the defense matrix. Kellex, though, you can't account for that. That's freakish from Nico, picking him off with an icicle at that range.
I mean, that's the scary part about May. With the right-click icicles at range, a sniper at time, right? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reason to be scared of May, but at range, just a headshot there to Kellex. He could just be free-firing a choke point, right? With those icicles. Hits a headshot, takes him out. That buys him a lot of time.
Shore4 not looking for anything in particular here, maybe to force a rotation from Paris, get them out of position. He'll wait for a teleport cooldown and go to the Hunting Lodge ledge in the backside. Immediately booped away though. FD God sees him coming. Wants a king to a god, I guess. Nice block. Shore4 definitely wanted to get rid of Nico early in this fight. He's still looking for him. Nano boost though, Shore4. He just wants to target anything, and No Smite is going to get served up to him on a platter. FD God again. Fantastic work from the Lucio from the Eternal. Boop Shore4 to the other side of No Smite's shield, keeping the Orisa alive.
Toronto does have control of the point here, though. They're up 2 players. This looks like Toronto could put it away, getting very close. They're able to get it done as the Defiant will take map 2.
Yeah, some great stuff there from FD God in Paris, but they couldn't hold up. The Defiant find the opening they were looking for. They looked really slow in map number 1, but they've really come alive here after Eichenwald, and they're going to make this one at least a 4-map affair. Pressure is now on for Paris Eternal to come up with something a little bit different here. We'll be back in just a moment. Some more Overwatch after this.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Rank up with America's first and only nationwide 5G network. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
It's been an interesting first match so far, and the real question is, will Paris reign eternal or will Toronto be defiant? Yes, we're killing it with those.
Nice.
Nice. Really proud of that one. No, but it's been really interesting. 1-1 the score right now, and I want to talk a little bit about what we saw so far. The first 2 maps in our 2020 seasons. What did you guys think of the team compositions overall? They were similar, but there were some major differences, Costa.
You definitely saw a couple of things differentiating between the two teams. You see Paris wanting to run the Symmetra a lot with XZ, and they're just sort of trying to like be aggressive. I think it worked a lot better in map 1 with the Moira just sort of running at the opposition team. Toronto just really didn't have an answer to it. I think you also see Carib on the Ana, probably a comfort pick for their team, and then they're just playing Reaper and just trying to sort of deflect the enemy team.
Yeah, I mean, XZ, he's somebody who became well known in Korea for his hit scan, so bringing out the Symmetra is definitely something a bit different, but it was such a standout performance from him in both maps, was just absolutely destroying with that Symmetra pick. So it seems like he's been putting a lot of time and effort into getting that one nailed down pat, and it seems like a very comfortable composition for the Paris Eternal, got them that first map win.
It's interesting so far, though, that both teams sort of have their own compositions and their own play style. So I appreciate that we're actually seeing different comps. Yeah, we're not playing mirror compositions, right? So Paris leaning into the Moira a bit more, and then you have Nevix on the D.Va, who's actually trying to eat that Moira orb, and they're playing the Ana with the Biotic Grenade, trying to play a bit more aggressive. So I at least appreciate that we're seeing different styles from the teams, and they're actually sticking to the styles. They're not swapping it up to the other team's composition. They're just sticking to what they know and what they do best, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, you can really tell that they all did their prep work and they came in with a very specific plan, which both teams are now actually executing really well on that second map. Now, it is time for Crunch Time, presented by Cheese It Grooves. So reinforce, what's our Crunch Time?
It's pretty well so far.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheese It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch.
The wall is perfect because it prevents Nevix from eating the Blizzard coming out from Nico. So I really like that he puts down the wall to block Nevix's capability of eating the Blizzard. And then also, he puts down the Blizzard to peel for his own team, peel away from the Shatter. So even though Beast hits a really nice Shatter, he actually prevents the Toronto Defiant to get any sort of value from that nice Shatter. So great job by Nico.
Incredible. Sick play. I think the thing that went under there as well is he blocked the Shatter. He used his Ice Block, make sure he didn't get hit by it, because if he got hit by that, that was over.
What about us?
Okay.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a
Playing phenomenally. They were just barely able to get over that boundary of his McCree to get that victory there on Eichenfeld. So if they can just circumnavigate it, I think it'd be great.
Anything you guys would add to that?
I'm really curious to see if Paris goes back to their hip on Moira and XZ on the Symmetra and just start running back, because that's where they had the most success. When they went to the McCree and the Baptiste, it just sort of didn't really come out for them.
Yeah, you weren't a fan of the McCree there at all.
I think the McCree Baptiste is such a defensive playstyle where they're just sort of shooting at range, trying to hope that sort of that they were going to make Toronto was going to make a mistake. You didn't really see that. You saw they just sort of ran at them and just succeeded. So I just think go back to what worked.
Yeah, I did like the Symmetra coming out as well, because the Symmetra didn't really work when they lost positional advantage, but when you're in an even playing field, I like the Symmetra coming out because you just deal so much damage, especially considering that Toronto Defiant, they're playing the Reinhardt and the D.Va combination. As a Symmetra, I mean, you're just beaming down the Reinhardt shield, and then you're just eating up Nevix. So I really like the Symmetra coming out as well, but it didn't really work when you lost positional advantage, especially on Eichenwalde on the second point. I mean, a huge castle, and that's when you need to pick the Widowmaker or pick the McCree, and you can actually like pin them down from afar.
Well, guys, it's time. It's time to get back into the action in New York after a short break. But stick around, because right after, the rest of the Toronto Defiant taking on Paris Eternal. And then we'll be back after the match for Watchpoint Reset to get you ready for more Overwatch League. See you then.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Hammerstein Ballroom here in New York City. We've had dance-offs at halftime and the crowd are getting into it. I think that's a safe way to put it. Always good to hear from our friends over in LA.
New York just knows how to get down. They know how to party. I mean, we're getting coffee this morning. They're bumping music in there. They're partying in there.
There's so much life in this city. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's the best.
I grew up in a town with 12,000 people. This is blowing my mind. There's people everywhere. It's
I grew up here, so it's kind of normal.
You did, I could tell. Yeah. Now, look, we've already seen a couple maps in this series, and we're quite impressed to see the Defiant bounce back after a pretty rough Lijiang Tower. They look much better, even though they're trying to deal with guys like Axie. FD God's looking very good. Nico on the maze causing them a lot of problems here. But we've seen Surefour, a big part of what Toronto was able to put forward on Eichenwald, and I believe he's actually started to make some waves in the all-time records recently.
Yeah, so Surefour climbing up the leaderboards. If you take a look at final blows all time. So Carpe sitting at number 1.
He just overtook Soon.
Which is wild for Carpe to be at number 1, considering a lot of people thought he had like a down season last season. It just shows how good that guy
is. Not me, bro.
Striker still up there. He didn't really play a ton last season, but Surefour actually just overtakes Soon in this match. So we have not seen Soon yet for the Paris Eternal. Surefour, plays the LA Gladiators, now comes over to Toronto Defiant, making his way up the final blows all-time leaderboard.
I mean, if there's McCree to be played, it seems like a decent spot for Soon, but Xy's looked very, very good there. Striker's on that list, by the way, because he farmed people when he played for Boston. Yeah. That's why he's on that list.
Let's just look at Carpe, though. He's like about 1,000 more than...
I don't know. I don't know why you're so surprised. I don't know why you're sounding shocked here, but yeah, Surefour, not passive. Not playing passive today at all. He's definitely been proactive, especially on those attacking rounds where they're trying to get to point A on Eichenwald. There'll be lots more opportunities to do that in our next map as well, guys. Just a spoiler. How does he play with that bling on his hand? I have to take mine off.
Yeah, same. I can't. It's tough. But coming up next, it looks like I will have Horizon Lunar Colony. So we'll have Assault coming up next. So like I mentioned, week to week, the maps are going to kind of slide down. If you think about it, like map 1 will always be Control.
Rotate.
The other game modes will rotate, kind of just push it down 1 to the left, and that's kind of where you'll be. So some games, let's say you had a 3-0 here, you wouldn't have seen a traditional escort map we will see it though, considering the series is tied at 1-1.
We saw FD God at Anaheim in the World Cup playing for Team France. I'm still really impressed after having seen his play there. He's looked incredibly good. He's working with 2 main tanks, so obviously trying to prevent flankers from getting around behind them is very important. Done a great job booping, people like Shawfor out of the way, keeping Ben Best especially freed up to just swing with that Reinhardt hammer.
And I think these two teams obviously make a ton of changes coming into this season. We've seen a lot of teams, though, make some massive changes. Right? You think of like the LA Gladiators, the Houston Outlaws make a ton of additions in the offseason. It's going to be very interesting how some of these teams pay off, because you look at a lot of them and you don't really expect much, but what you see from both Toronto and Paris, they like, okay, well, let's see them go up against some of these other teams.
Both of these teams have been very active in that offseason, right? Yeah. Horizon Lunar Colony is going to be our 3rd map. Did they ever? 14th and 17th place, respectively.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're 14th and you're 17th, you ain't active.
I mean, I think the Defiant also took some time to really find their identity in that last season. They were an expansion team in 2019. They definitely starting to develop one now.
14th place?
I'm going to leave that one. Now it's we have Canadians in Kariv. Come at us.
I mean, look, they changed it around, right? And I really like this roster. A lot of fan favorite players, very talented players. A lot of personalities on here. You come in, you put on a good show. I think definitely going to be one of the more popular teams we have in the league this year.
They went from one of the quietest teams to one of the most popular pretty much overnight with that change. All right, so Symmetra here for the Defiant. Cross the gap, get to the point. This is pretty standard stuff. How do the Eternal respond now that they're capturing the point? Tick, that's one.
And like we mentioned earlier when we did Lijiang Tower, Symmetra, when you get her on the points in these close controlled areas, she can become devastating. But I see with another early pickoff on that McCree on the high ground, connects with 2.
He's in such a good spot. Agility's just walls himself and Beast Halo in. They don't want to have to brave this barrage of bullets from up above. Exi! That's kind of filthy. So 4.
So like I was talking about, it's very similar to that first point that we had on Lijiang Tower, where the point's very close. You can get to it, you can control it with the sim, you can make some waves. The main difference is McCree can sit on the high ground here. There's no high ground like it was on Lijiang Tower, right? Everybody has to brawl and fight on the point. The McCree can just sit on the high ground here. Very difficult to angle those shields. You'd have to send Nevix up there, then there's no protection from some of the other players on the point. This time, they try and use the Symmetra teleporter to get to the high ground here. This is probably just trying to force positioning, but they do lose Kariv. Probably going to have to back out of this, but if you go to the high ground, maybe you can force XC down. You force him down, McCree not fast, so if you can get to the point and start a fight, maybe he has to stay there, can't access that high ground.
I mean, a risky game trying to run into Paris Eternal now when you obviously only have that one main tank. You have the D.Va, who's just going to get battered in the front line. Another pick-off here. Gray finds Shawfor. Gray known for his Ana play, actually a very good sniper. Gray, we've seen him on the Widowmaker as well. Look at Exit, you can't touch this guy. Playing very long angles, and Toronto can't spare Nevix. They can't send him off to deal with XE one-on-one. They lose too much defense from the Matrix.
And the absolute worst thing here for Toronto is you're losing fights consistently, and they do not have to invest anything on the Paris side to win these fights. You're going to see basically all 6 ultimates online here for the Paris Eternal. You know, you kind of play these right. I mean, you could be able to get a first point hold here. I mean, Horizon's a very difficult map that if you don't get it early, you can hold on to point A.
Shawfor throws the teleporter. It was actually a bait, though. They just wrap around instead. They didn't really want to end up in the midst of the Paris Eternal. Okay, that wall completely blocks Exi off. He's going to wait. Patience pays dividends. Shield was there for Beast Halo. Exi's still going to chill. Amplification Matrix thrown up there now. Ben Best going to work in from the side. Beast charged up against the wall. He's got a mana boost though, and he's very durable. Symmetra barrier put in place. Exi can't find his shots now, and a Blizzard thrown in. Ben Best couldn't get away. Gray's Immortality Field was taken down, and he can barely peek. The numbers favoring Toronto now as they have boots on the ground, but Agilities is taken down by Nosefire. That's what Nevix does when he has to try and challenge that high ground, but they get the point. Toronto managed to capture.
There's 2 players here for the Paris Eternal, so Gray and XC, they all fall.
Hello.
You make a play out of this. Faster spawn times, they'll be up already, but looks like they're just going to take their time here, Toronto. Wait this one out. They're going to go left side here with the Sim. You get the teleporter up here. Yep. It's going to be the McCree from the opposite angle. Oh, nice
that
lead there from Kareem.
Unbelievable. This guy, how does he keep doing it? Nano Boost going to be on the way. He tries to keep Nevix alive on the high ground as again he's put in a position where he needs to challenge those on-range hit-scan heroes. Beast Halo Nano boosted here, and he's going to try and connect a couple of these hammer swings. No Smite and Benbest went low. He's going to force out the Immortality field. Exi scrabbling to try and get a player advantage whilst Benbest was swinging. And now Benbest is in trouble. He had no backup. Surefour burns them down. And the Toronto Defiant love a long fight. Surefour gets charged up, and they're ready to rumble with 3 minutes and 10 seconds in the time bank.
Yeah, you Nano Beast on the right side of the point. Both tanks can't really kind of run into the Reinhardt, especially with the Nano Boost. He's going to swing through both targets, put down a ton of damage, gain a ton of ult charge. On the left side, you're also dealing with the Symmetra, who's going to chunk down those tanks. No way for them to access the point, and Toronto's able to hold it. We'll see Paris on their offense on Horizon after this.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor.
Welcome back, everybody. Don't forget, the Philadelphia Fusion are hosting the Battle of Brotherly Love next weekend. Tickets, though, going fast. Don't miss your chance to see EQO, Carpe, Fury, and the rest of the Fusion up close and in person. PhillyFusionTix.com. It's coming up real soon. Get there.
Yeah, that one's going to be awesome. Excited for Philly. We may or may not.
I may have made a request to be there. I may have asked to put us on that one.
Yeah,
So.
we may enjoy watching Carpe play. We may be there live to watch Carpe play. You never know.
We might even talk about Carpe playing while he's playing.
That's true. It's true. It's something we would probably do.
Oh, it's good to be back. So, Horizon Lunar Colony, we've already seen a lightning fast round. It was the Toronto Defiant, because Surefour plays everything, as we know. Very deep hero pool. The Symmetra in that second fight looked good. It felt, Matt, a little bit like Benbest overextended when he got the Nano Boost over on that point B.
I'm ready for this defense, though. Back in LA, reinforced probably you'll get the confetti back on out. Winston is back as Beast playing Winston here on defense. A very aggressive composition. So with the Sombra, the Doom, and the Winston D.Va combination, you're going to be jumping on these squishy targets.
I'm glad the X-Men gave him the weekend off, Matt. There's a D-suit already on Nevix because he can't stop that damage in Paris. They've already come up with a formula here that works. Not sure for maybe. Going to translocate away, but it's no good. And now the Defiant are down to 3 players. Maybe they go for a late contest. They do have the Doom Fist. First time I've seen him today. Agilities can get those insta-kills, those bursts. Not on Benbest, though. Reinhardt nowadays is very hard to knock out of position and into walls.
And Beast is trying to get onto the Symmetra in the backline, but just the peel is too good there. From FD God, you had Nico there as well on Mei, and to be able to take this first point for Paris.
Oh, that
very fast.
Good for Toronto.
And now Toronto, you're in a tough spot. Paris doesn't have to change their composition at all. If you change yours, you're giving up all of this ultimate percentage, and you know that they don't have to change theirs up to make progress on point B. they're going to be able to stay on these heroes, have a big ultimate advantage, set a very good time. So for Toronto, you're pretty much forced to stay on this for at least another fight.
You need Primal Rage in this fight at the very least.
You probably nano the Winston.
And that's exactly what they've done. Look at that. Primal Rage now got to be online. Beast Halo gets rid of Exi early on. Symmetra again, pretty squishy. And if you can get that Tesla cannon in there, it bypasses shields. And that is what Beast was hoping to achieve there. Who's he looking for now? Gray going to get battled around, but he can fade away soon enough. And now he's going to be frozen solid. Ruffled his feathers indeed, but Beast is able to take to the skies once more. And they get rid of No Smite before the Earthshatter came in from BenBest. He's discorded, by the way, and forced back. Kellex applying that orb. Surefour again has to be very careful. He's able to translocate out just in time. And he'll have an EMP for the next fight. Toronto, they had the win condition, Matt, with the nano boost on towards Beast Halo.
Yeah, they end up using a few other ultimates in the fight. Agilities end up using a Meteor Strike. You think you can invest into that. So now some changes come in. It's just going to be Exi moving over and playing McCree here for Paris. Do some of the same things they did on their defensive side, trying to access that high ground, play the control game. See what Toronto does. Do they try and dive this? Do they try and give them some space? They're just trying to check for the Sombra there. They know the Sombra has EMP.
Again, just one tick of that endothermic blaster would reveal a Sombra. Surefour though stays out of detection. That's an EMP to forget. BenBest, Kareev taken down, or taking NiKo down, should I say. Yeah, that's filthy. That's all you need in that fight. Kareev does use a nano boost there by the looks of things. But get the EMP. It's usually a pretty cheap win.
It's a free win, essentially, if you land a good EMP. Then he comes from the backside of the point. He actually comes from the exact angle that NiKo's checking constantly. Translocator back to spawn. Do we see a switch? Potentially, or does he stay on it? It looks like Surefour's potentially contemplating that. He'll come back out of the spawn now on Sombra. So Paris, they're opting not to go high ground. I think if you get them to dive into the close quarter area here, you have a better chance of fighting it with the double main.
Harder to hack them, I feel, as well. Less sightlines for Surefour. BenBest does get stunned briefly. That was Agility's hitting him with a rocket punch there, but it doesn't really do much to Ryan these days.
Yeah, you also get the supercharger around the corner for the McCree to get set up.
That's a meaty swing for BenBest. He gets hit with a biotic grenade though. He and No Smite both, they have to be careful. Agility's Meteor Strike is available, but Exi comes here on the McCree. No Smite does. Oh, okay. Almost a headshot finish! Exi! This guy's cracked. Surefour has to get out with the translocator. The Deadeye now. Beast, very lucky. Good bubble placement though, in fairness. Has to be a Primal Rage. Everything being committed to trying to stop this McCree. And it's gonna have to be Beast now jumping forward.
Transcendence and Primal Rage they're used for the Toronto Defiant, and all Paris does is back out at full strength now. The two big ultimates used there for Toronto, as they thought it was gonna be a little bit scarier than it actually was. So, two big ultimates burn there for the Toronto Defiant. You may be able to get away with it though, because you have another EMP coming online from Surefour.
Pack here on the BenBest. He was hoping to set up something like a shatter as he moved into the point. We'll still have it available, but EMP's online. Surefour is causing so many problems right now for the Eternal, and a nano boost on to get the job done.
And Mitch, we've seen it in the past with a lot of these kind of compositions and fights. When you play with the Sombra on your team, the fights that you win without using EMP are huge, because the other team doesn't want to end up using a lot of these ultimates to try and invest. They want to get the EMP out and come back with another big fight.
So the threat of the EMP prevents teams from using their ultimates.
That time, Agilities and Beast did a nice job, just not kind of checking, face checking into the Paris Eternal, where BenBest could have landed a Shadow eventually. They come from the high ground. You have it a kill from Agilities on Exi. Surefour gets spotted out, but you're going to be able to translocate back to spawn. You're fine.
That's what BenBest, that's what NiKo's been doing, just spraying random. Worked out this time. Ha! That is so cheeky, Kareev. Peeks out. Exi took the bait. The Deadeye goes to waste. That flashbang doesn't connect. Gray!
Ooh,
okay. Both supports taken down with that biotic orb. Now it's getting real for Paris Eternal. They've even got a sound barrier here if the fight gets a little bit messy, but so far they're just going to roll over the top. Self-destruct, buy some space, some time, gets rid of No Smite as well. Sound barrier now has to be used for the Paris Eternal. BenBest, he's hit with a Discord orb and a biotic grenade. Can't do anything about that as a main tank, and Paris are forced off the point after Gray opens things up with a double kill. Looks like they're going to struggle to follow up here at all now. Gross. That is gross!
I mean, these are the heroes that Agilities is at his best. When you see him on the Genji, the Doomfist, the Pharah, when he can make explosive solo plays, That's when you see Agility's at its best. Comes in, picks up a 4K there on Doomfist. And almost misses the jump to the rafters, but it's just game-changing plays like that. I mean, we've seen highlight plays from Agilities in the past on these types of heroes. Not surprising to see him there make a big play on Doom.
23 seconds left. Now or never for the Paris Eternal. The Toronto Defiant are way ahead, and Xy's down already. The McCree, the key to this fight. He's off the table, and we're going to have to wait a little bit longer or risk doing it without him entirely.
And they've given Xy no space on this McCree to get anything done. It's been picture perfect for the Toronto Defiant.
Nevix getting up in his face, and the healing for the D.Va's been good. The Eternal have to go now. Agilities drops in, looking for the backline, but he gets taken down by Greater Coalescence. Yields results for the Paris Eternal. Now Beast Halo knocked down by the Earthshatter. He got his Primal Rage up, but this Blizzard might make things hard for Toronto. Kellex, great Transcendence timing. Normally we see him on main support, but his Zen's looking clean. It may not be enough though. The Eternal have Ben Best front and center, and the Fire Strike connects with Kariv. Xy's back, and he makes his mark. Agilities wants to drop in here, keep overtime going, but he's going to do it straight in towards the Orisa. Halted back, EMP for Surefour. He's shut down. Nevix can stall potentially, but he doesn't get close enough. And the Eternal do finish the map, but they have no time to work with. They will not get a chance to attack again.
But being able to play that Winston, Beast on the Winston does a nice job, same with Agilities, putting so much pressure on Xy's McCree, which he's really been like the standout star player for the Paris Eternal this far. So when they try and access the high ground, they're right in his face straight away. You know, the being annoying with whether it be the Sombra on the backside, the Doomfist, the Winston coming through the front side. Also, with all that pressure towards the McCree, not able to access the high ground for Paris Eternal to get towards the Zen-Ana combination. So both of those healers for Toronto can do the healing at range from a safe location. A really good composition there, played it well for Toronto on D.
I like the Winston. You start off on the rafters, Matt, you just drop down, and then you're going to have your rocket jump already available to jump back into the air, to get that healing whilst you're airborne, or just to get onto a perch and get away from the fight for a little time. Winston's mobility really starts to shine on point B of this map, defending.
And that's how you've always kind of challenged McCree, right? In Overwatch, is just put multiple targets.
Dive him. Just dive him.
Put multiple targets right in his face. Can't burst everybody down, no mobility, can't really get away. The other team has to dedicate a lot of resources to keep that McCree alive. It'll be Paris on defense here, and a last stand on Horizon. They're going to play the McCree on the high ground. Toronto will come out with that Symmetra yet again.
Surefour, again, he could bait a teleporter and rush his team through. They do have a Lucio to speed them past this.
I think you can either bait the teleporter, you can teleport to the high ground. Looks like they're going to take this towards the backhand side of the point.
See if they take this slow. Okay, wall comes out, they just circumvent it. Toronto aren't too bothered by the main air. Beast Halo down early. Surefour, he doesn't have a shield to hide behind. That's the point of Symmetra in these kind of fights. He needs protection whilst he roasts people. And look at that, he doesn't get any space, so he loses his tank.
I love the way that Paris played that, though. They played it aggressive. They teleport around with the Sim. They know what's happening straight away. And instead of allowing Toronto to get on the point and then jump down and try and contest, they get no smite right up in Beast's face on that Reinhardt. They know that the D.Va's not in that great position, and you burst them down. Burst down the Reinhardt. There's nothing they can really do at that point. There's no opportunity to get the Sim on the point and just kind of take control.
Oh, Nico, he checks it, so he knew there'd be a teleport coming through. The wall splits the Defiant off. His timing was actually very good, and again, the Eternal get aggressive. Yep. Divide and conquer, say the French.
So you get a wall, a good wall, you push on forward. It's going to be 2 kills here, though, for Toronto. I don't think it's going to be enough to turn it, as it looks like Agility should be the last one up here, as he's going to try and have to back away. They keep Agilities alive, and they're keeping Nevix alive, too, so this is burning even more time.
Paris Eternal, the likelihood of a draw being forced here, increasing.
Agilities does get out about half HP, though, so have to heal him up now, push straight onto the point. Without Nevix still here as well.
Nico has to wall off, try and give himself some protection. Might be time for Blizzard. He has to use Ice Block fairly early. This gives time for No Smite to come forward, but he's taking a lot of damage. It's time for the Blizzard now. Most of the Defiant are able to avoid it. Beast being kept nice and healthy. Nico's forced off the point by the Blizzard himself. That Agility's through down, and there's a trade of main tanks here. No shields at all left for the Toronto Defiant, but they don't care. They press W and go forward. Surefour throws his barrier up. I guess they can stand behind that as a substitute for Reinhardt. But as this fight goes, Surefour needs to find more of these targets. One tick is all Toronto need. The Eternal need to keep the pressure up now, but the self-destruct, it buys enough space to give them the tick and the map.
Yeah, the self-destruct there at the end is the key. Forces Paris off of the point. At a moment, it looked quite scary, right? You lose your only shield on the point. Surefour Symmetra shield goes away, the barrier comes down. But that self-destruct from Nevix enough to clear them off of the point.
The Defiant, slow start, but finishing well. They still need one more map to win it out here. Perhaps we'll have even more. More Overwatch coming at you right after this, live from New York.
Can they win the fight though? Symetra's grab got eaten by Rhea. That is huge. Shock without one of their crucial ultimates now. And everyone's gonna take a ride. Huge move for IDK. He gets two with it. The D.Va and the Brigitte going down into the well. And they are not coming out again.
Exactly, they looked at statistics instead, and now we're starting to see, this was sick, look at this. They stunned Envy out of the EMP. Again, these highly mechanical plays by New York, they're so class on every single roll.
Yeah, they do. They back off a little bit more here. Oh, noise. He's right behind him. Shadow! Oh, it's nasty! That's a six-man Shadow. Oh, Nishawa.
And Bumper keeps playing well. You're going to see all different types of stuff like this. You know, the flanking Reinhardt becoming pretty popular.
To nail everybody with an EMP on the defense, but he is going to go ahead and manage to pick up a few. That was a quad hack, and this is a wipe. Excellent execution coming in from the Hunters.
That's not justice raining, that is a storm from above.
What is this?
What are they doing right now?
That is interesting.
That is a really...
Can you get over the roof there?
Oh my.
Oh you
my,
can.
what a play, what a grab!
Tosses in the grab, they're gonna make it work. And Cruz taken out by the ensuing self-destruct. Atlanta Reign breaking through that in the most stylish way I've ever seen.
Thanks for staying with us, ladies and gentlemen. New York, it's been good to us so far today and the last couple of days. Myself and Matt got here a little bit early, but the Toronto Defiant now, match point, a chance to take this series out from under the feet of the Eternal, who showed up pretty strong to start with.
Yeah, and I think, though, as the series has gone on, Toronto has realized, hey, we can't let XZ just sit in the back on McCree, just take pot shots at us. We have to play more aggressive. We have to close the gap between the two. It wasn't really working with the Reaper that much on Eichenwaldt there. They put good work with a just dive composition, right? You have the Sombra in play, the Doomfist, you have Winston, Nevix has played that D.Va all series long, so very effective there. We'll see what happens on our next map, though.
Yeah, I liked that sort of defensive Winston play with use of high ground. It reminds me very much of Philadelphia Fusion from last year. They did it on both that map, Horizon, and they also did it on Rialto quite frequently. Obviously, they were able to leverage Sardo's Winston play much more. Maybe we see more of that as we head into our next map, but whatever they can do to close the gap on Xe, shut him down. That's it, McCree, you know, is very fallible. Plenty of weaknesses, Matt. You can close the gap, you can dive him, it is all over. At least we saw some flexibility there from Toronto to pull that off.
Yeah, and our fourth map will be Escort in the series, so we do have one sub coming in here, so we'll take a look at that in just a quick second, but there'll be Logix that comes in for Agilities, so brings another hit scan player in here for the Toronto Defiant.
So it's 3 different DPS looks that we've seen from Toronto so far.
But you know, with Escort coming up next, we'll find out what map it is. But you know, a lot of Escort's map with some high ground. You know, maybe we see like some kind of double sniper setup, whether it be like Hanzo Widowmaker. You can play some Sombra again. This kind of writes off the Doomfist. Surefour and Logix, neither of them really known for Doomfist play. So kind of writes that off. So I think if anything, you see some Sombra, maybe, you know, some Hanzo, some Widowmakers. The next net will be Havana, it looks like. So potentially on Havana, I mean, we've seen like Bastion setups and things of that nature with double shields, some really close quarter play. Subbing out agilities probably means you don't want to play the Pharah on defense, right? A lot like we saw last year, Pharah up close near the doors on the defensive end. So get a chance to see what we see from both of these teams. They've had a long time to cook up some new strats.
Again, the last time we sort of saw this map played in official matches, Sigma was still hotly contested as a pick. A lot of teams sort of playing him. I mean, Reinhardt's sort of durability kind of vastly eclipses that of Sigma nowadays, and he's obviously less flexible with his shield placement. They reduce the accretion damage. So a couple of things that have just made him a little bit harder to just tape onto any composition and make him work.
Yeah, I mean, Sigma was very effective in a lot of different situations, right? As a main tank, as
very
an
good at
off
shutting
tank,
down flankers and being a frontliner.
A good damage, and the damage that just kind of chips you down over time, right? Just kind of throwing the spheres through the chokes, just poking and poking and poking constantly. And that combined with like Orisa, right, made a really deadly combination with some of the changes to shields and you know, adjustments to Orisa. And Sigma, I think we're going to see the tank position open up a little bit more. I don't think we're completely like away from two shields being played quite frequently, whether it be you know, Orisa Reinhardt, you know, Sigma with their Orisa, but I think we're getting towards a point where there's just going to be more variation in the tank spot.
Well, it makes you wonder, actually, if maybe, you know, Smex, for example, was here. Do Paris go for, you know, an off-tank pick here? Is it a matter of comfort for BenBest and those Smite to go for this, or is this something that Paris are trying to institutionalize? Lots of shields. I mean, if you played ranked recently, there's plenty of double shield comps going on, but I like the flexibility that D.Va can give the Defiant, even if it reduces their overall durability and staying power in some of these longer fights.
So see what Paris decides to do. Do you want to play close here, and then you can have the Widowmaker sit at range, right? You can't really access the Widow if everybody's played close up, right? You have to deal with the players directly in front of you. So looks like Paris, they'll push up. They'll BenBest on top of the gas station there with a little bit of a boost. And you don't expect that Widowmaker to be in play, right? As next he's going to get a pick on the Logics early.
Yeah, and this is definitely something that we saw from him plenty during his time back in Korea. He replays yet. He's not got any multi-kills.
You do lose BenBest, though. He gets hit with a biotic grenade and denied all that healing that his teammates could have provided him. So you may have to back up here. Can't exactly play that close at one shield.
No. The Reinhardt's being taxied back in. FD God has gone back to fetch BenBest, and he's pretty much already back. You see him around the corner right now. Payload will move up, and again, the Eternal are going to try and set their feet. They are looking for an opening killed by Exi, but now that the Defiant have access to this left side building, Nevix can get a little bit closer. He actually does take a headshot from Exi straight away. He was hoping to get out of that one unscathed. He actually has to back away and rejoin the fight. Beast Halo, though, doing some serious work.
You don't need the kill, though. The pressure's enough, right? He forces Exi out of position, which just, he can't just keep putting down, you know, these fully charged up Widowmaker shots on the targets just walking up the street,
It's
right?
not worth getting desuited to try and chase a Widow down. If she's already out of position and is denied the sight lines, then you're probably happy, right?
Yep, and then, you know, Exi, even he doesn't know that Nevix is not coming back for him, right? He turns the corner, he gets the health pack. Who's to say Nevix doesn't come out and re-challenge, right? So Exi has to respect the fact that the D.Va's in that position, could come out and play, backs him down.
That's one. Sure, I mean, Nevix couldn't cover that one. Oh, defense matrix, the second that went down, actually finds a headshot. Logics! He falls. That is nasty stuff from Exi finding two, and they invested a lot, the Defiant, in Logics in that fight. The Nano Boost being part of that, and he comes up with very little.
And now if I'm Paris, I play close up here. I force them to walk down the street and allow my Widowmaker, who's hitting these shots, to give the space to win us the half.
Maywall comes up, Coalescence used. It's interrupted by Beast Halo, though. He gets Grey to the ground, but he's out of position to protect his team from the crack back, the shatter. It's 3 knockdown on the Toronto Defiant side, but Logics is standing tall. Logie Bear's looking for the picnic baskets, and he's going to go in now with the Death Blossom. Just the one on FD God. But the Defiant have some momentum now, and they have that spawn advantage. If they can keep pressuring, they can make some progress.
They can't exactly just free push onto the cart, right? The Widowmaker's still on that high ground. You're going to have another fight here as Logic switches to a Widow of his own. So
okay.
He's going to back up. He'll have walls here. So a good idea where everybody's at here for Toronto.
Surefour needs to get close enough to get a good Blizzard. Exi waiting. Didn't quite time the cooldown. All right, missed a few now. He's going to try and get a better spot here to try and take on the enemy Widow. But look at that, Nevix, so smart. He was on the cusp. Chased him down immediately. Here's a self-destruct. Nevix just going to get a new mech and go again. Gray has another Coalescence. He's going to try and use it in this fight, but they're missing No Smite. One of their main tanks is down! Nevix! He's everywhere at once! Eats the Blizzard. Nico now gets no value from that one, and things go from bad to really bad.
Yeah, I mean, Nevix with a huge play there. You know, eats the Blizzard, also forces the Widow out of position again.
He's also doing calculus in his head. In the meantime, he's getting coffee for the guys.
I mean, just huge plays there in that fight to push Toronto over the line. And that's what you wanted to see, right? Nevix, all we talked about like last year, that he's off season, and all we heard from many of the players, like, dude, Nevix is sick. He could easily be, you know, a starter in the Overwatch League. Reinforce, you know, just talking about Nevix all the time. Maybe just a little bit of Sweden connection, but
I mean, have you heard him talk about Elivote and Lolzish? It's the same.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the passion there. But
see those lads later on. Nevix is the definition of a man about talent. Ben Best taken down early in the fight here, and Surefour going to make use of the absence of any shielding whatsoever now, with No Smite going the way of the weary. And a Blizzard not far away here.
So with the switch off of Widowmaker here, you go to Hanzo. You can't really play McCree here, right? You probably would have liked to if you're XE, because McCree, without that mobility, like, you don't even need to switch comps for Toronto to access him well. So and he gets forced into these hallways and stuff. It would have been really risky. At least Hanzo, you can get away, you can burn players down quick.
That's an oh-no-y. Managed to catch out Ben Best. Beast Halo, actually, both of those guys getting caught by Blizzards. XE and No Smite are down though, so player advantage here for the Defiant. They're moving this payload in, 3 on it now. Gray going to go for another Coalescence. Nevix taken low by Nico. Self-destruct, the timing! Beast Halo lined that up perfectly. So managed to get the kill on Ben Best, but for 2 ultimates, it was only the 1 kill. But as the fight goes through, the Defiant do convert that early player advantage into a second checkpoint.
And XE ends up using his Dragon Strike there to maybe force some players off of the point, which you think maybe now you switch off of this Hanzo. Like, you can go Widow here. Yeah, I mean, if you played Widow on point A defense here with a longer sight line and more high ground, yeah, you think you'd go back to the Widow again. I mean, you liked it before, you love it now, so switch off the Hanzo, get on the Widowmaker yet again. Let's see how Toronto plays around this.
XE now stepping up to defend Castle Grayskull. I guess that makes Surefour He-Man. Logix doesn't get away with that one. FD God getting the extra damage. No Smite put to sleep here, but no follow-up chance for Toronto because Beast Taylor was so low and Logix was out of the picture, so this is just a wash.
So now you're going to keep pushing up towards the door here for the Paris Eternal. Give the Widowmaker more space. Logix plays the Widow of his own, so forces almost a mirror match. We still have the D.Va in play for the Toronto Defiant, so a little bit more mobility to put pressure on XE.
We didn't really get to see much of the Widow head-to-head before, so maybe we get that. Yeah, we do.
You don't get much to see it now.
Yeah. XE removed early, and maybe that's what the Defiant needed. FD God, you're playing with fire, son. Had he lost all of his health in midair, that ultimate would have gone by the wayside. However, it doesn't. But it doesn't really help the Eternal. Logix is popping up. Another one? Not quite. Okay, yeah. You know, for a very softly spoken Belgian guy, there's some attitude in Logix's play.
Hey, bro, you go out on the road, everybody's not now.
Get out! What?
That is, now you're just showing off. I mean, that is nuts to be able to just grapple up, look directly down, nail the headshot. XE did not see that one coming. Do it again, why not?
No, please. Oh, I can't handle any more of that. Logix, mate, when he fires, he is an inferno. Beast wants to push forward here a little bit now. Gray with the Coalescence available. It's a sound barrier for the Defiant here. The turn back by Beast. Disrespect on Nico, and he keeps Logix alive. That Infrasight definitely going to be helping the Defiant now. Information on the respawns being given to them by their Widowmaker player. FD God doing well to evade capture, but it is over. The jig is up, and the map is complete for Toronto.
Toronto, the biggest hurdle was getting that point A. After that, it was smooth sailing. They were difficult dealing with Xy's Widow the star, but Logic's like, dude, I'm popping off, bro.
You are nasty, Logix! You're filthy!
Logic's like, hey, I know we practiced a lot of different strategies in the offseason, probably, for this map, but I'm going Widowmaker on defense, and I'm going ham.
Right, even his teammates are like trying to sidle off camera, you know, like, yo, what do we see with this guy? He's a criminal! He's zipping him up, Matt.
It's looking like Bren from the Talent Takedown.
Yeah, except his attire is vastly more acceptable.
It's true.
I don't know, who let him do that?
So now Toronto, they got to be feeling pretty good, right? Going into their defensive half, stop them from completing the map, and then a very difficult map to complete.
You know, Logix
win the series.
Logic's picked up by this team long before, actually. You know, Shore4, Nevix, Kariv, and Calyx.
One of the holdovers from last year.
That's right. Didn't really get to shine last year, but it was a bit of a revolving door.
Yeah, you saw Logix pop off in moments last year, and I think it's a lot of kind of, like, I mean, season 1 with Florida, obviously not the ideal situation. Season 2 coming in as mid-season to Toronto.
He felt like a streakier Sire player in season 1, right?
I think now getting to see him stay on a team from one season to the next and get more play and more reps, get more comfortable with a team, I think we'll really see Logix unlock this season.
All right, Toronto want to play close. Nevix checking the right side door. Coming up later, fly from Dallas. Gladiators v Titans, not one to miss there. And Logix again, he is dominating the Widow battle. You know what I can imagine? Our producers backstage frantically putting together like a player of the match graphic for Logix. Like, oh!
Right now,
my producer is in my ear.
I was letting him talk to you.
that.
Yeah. The Logix starting to pop off here towards the end of the series. But
can he carry that momentum? Because this guy rises and falls on the strength of that momentum.
Okay, look at all the players on the stage. Showing Logix love. Yeah, look at everybody. Why not? Toronto.
I mean, the reason why we put that up.
Yeah,
we're on YouTube now, but there are still some things we can't show on television. Especially not in most of the states.
Logix getting the spawn kill going on. Ooh, pushed a little bit too far. The Coalescence comes out here from Paris, trying to just bully their way out of the spawn now.
Calyx, flashbang from Xe, but he wasn't even looking for him, but that's fine.
Xe at this point, it's like, hey, I'm not gonna take this Widow fight. I'm gonna use the McCree, break it open, close range. Now give myself a little bit better shot when I go over to Widow.
Sure, I mean, you just have nothing to work with. You have no sight lines as Widow. You can't really stay behind your main tank because Ben Best is too busy swinging. No Smite is too busy just trying to reposition.
And it's a 50-50 game coming out of the spawn on Widowmaker there on offense with the Widowmaker on D. You pick the wrong spawn door, Lodge is looking at it, you're dead pretty much before you even make it out.
In for a sight for Logix, so Xe now takes the more passive sideline and plays more supportive role in Widowmaker. That's right, DPS players, you can be a supportive Widowmaker too in your rank games. Logix handing out free haircuts. Unfortunately, they're all inverse mohawks. You don't get to choose that part. NiKo boomed.
Now I think for Paris, you're like, hey, this is our plan, and how it's not working. What do we do? I guess just keep trying to run it up, right?
I mean, get Xe to run it back. Yo, get that Widowmaker.
Just keep running it up mid, so to speak. So, see, Quantum's looking for an angle here, trying to find Xe.
He can fall back as well to a balcony behind him. Coalescence here, that self-destruct might be a bit of a messy one. They catch NiKo, so even with a Coalescence, the Eternal lose a player. Can't heal that.
And then they finally found out Kariv was playing so far off to the side on the left, almost behind the Paris Eternal. They finally pick him off.
Getting filthy Bionade value, though.
And also potentially setting up like sleep guard, so...
Double headshot, close range, Xe filled. Logix takes him down, though.
Returns the favor.
Yeah. Okay, it's got to be a sound barrier for Paris. I mean, you don't feel good about having to use it here just to get in position to fight for this first checkpoint.
Toronto's playing the long game. They completed the map. Havana, like I mentioned, a very difficult map to complete. You play the clock here, right? You don't necessarily need a point A hold. You just want to keep dwindling the clock as long as possible. If you can leave them with minimal time to get from B to C, even from A to B, very likely that Toronto takes it.
Okay, good wall there. Splits off a couple of plays. NiKo needs to get a Blizzard here and lets it go. Ooh, it was lucky they didn't get eaten by Nevix. He is able to get it down, though. This will slow the Defiant up. The payload contested. Nevix gets there. Gray down. Oh, a lot of healing missing now for the Paris Eternal. It's all going wrong at the worst time possible. That is a filthy sleep dart. Thank you very much. Kareev sets it up. Beast knocks it down.
Now you come into potentially final fight territory here for Paris with just Infrasight available. Maybe a Coalescence if you can extend the fight, but no tools to work with. Surefour gonna end up with a Blizzard probably.
Another Infrasight.
Too.
Exi, everywhere he goes, he's going to be tracked. At least he has one of his own here.
Well,
Kareev
gets
gets
picked up
it!
by Kareev.
Okay, yeah, I forget there's multiple snipers on the side of the Toronto Defiant. Kareev again just goes above and beyond what is required of him. Logic's now, this is a tight angle. This is aggressive. No spike. Has to be careful. The shield is not multi-directional. There ain't no bubble. Gray needs a big Coalescence here, but the healing's not enough to keep Empty God and Ben Best alive. Logix again strikes. This man is unstoppable. Exi shuts him down, but it's just a consolation. The Toronto Defiant new look come out strong, and they send the Eternal packing.
Logic's the difference maker at the end on Widowmaker. He's the sub that comes in for Havana, played map number 1, Lijiang Tower, then he comes out for the next 2, comes in for Agilities here at the end and puts on a show. As Exi has been phenomenal all series long, right? Whether it's been on Symmetra, McCree, but at the end, Logic's Widow just too strong.
It's tough. Nico's style, Matt, on that Mei is definitely more supportive. It's to facilitate for that double, that main tank setup. Unfortunately, Exi definitely having to deal with 2 big frags and Surefour and Logic's not necessarily 1v2, but definitely a lot of responsibility on his shoulders, and it was just a bit much to deal with. The fact that the Eternal have a revolving door of absolute superstars in the DPS position. The Defiant have the same darn thing. We didn't even see Mungatree this game. I mean, there's more out back. You want to see the rest of the collection. We've got players, and now we've got our first notch in the belt.
And I would say Beast, if you're kind of looking at his play overall throughout the series, I think started off a little bit rough. Probably some early jitters, right, coming out. First Overwatch League game in front of this crowd here in New York, but really started to settle down. You saw some good shatters there towards the end. I thought his Winston play on Horizon was extremely effective at shutting down Exi.
There you have the Toronto Defiant looking sharp. We're now going to head down to the stage with Surefour and some hexagrams action on the mic.
I am here with Lane, Surefour Roberts, sometimes known as Tasumi. You guys went down a map early on, and then you were able to battle back. With this new look squad, how important was it for you to get this first win in a very long season?
I mean, I think it's pretty important since we're like a brand new team, so it's good to like build the confidence that like we can start it off very strong. I mean, we had a very long scrim schedule. We even boot camped in Korea, and we've just been practicing hard, and I think we were just fairly confident. I think we didn't scrim a lot against the sim strat, so that's why it kind of like surprised us a bit. But as the game goes on, you just think about and talk about how they're playing, and you just play like you think you should.
Well, congratulations on your win. You've always been one of the players that I've known for a very long time that plays everything, right? You play Sombra, you play Reaper, you play McCree. I've seen your Pharah before. Is there anything you can't play?
Nope.
Yep, that's right. We're done with that question, because I have a much more pressing and important question to ask. I've heard you got a special ring. Do you want to talk about it?
I mean,
how many carats?
Well, it's a sapphire ring, so it's not many carats, but it is quadruple A, which means it has no impurities. It is unheated, so it's in its most natural form. And yeah, it's very nice. I plan on getting a ruby ring, an emerald ring, and an opal ring as well.
Trying to become the next Thanos here. Well, obviously you've represented your team before, or your country before, in the World Cup in Canada. Now you get to do it for the Overwatch League. What's it mean to be able to represent Canada?
I think anyone that's from like a certain country can kind of like relate, where it's like, when I came back to Canada, it's just like this feeling or this aura in the air where like this feels more natural, this feels more home. And like when I went back to Toronto, that's just how it felt, and it just feels nice.
Well, congratulations. Everyone give it up for Surefour. Back to you guys, Matthew and Mitchell.
I love that from Hexagrams. Also, no one else calls me Mitchell. It's just the
Matthew, bro, come on.
I mean, yeah, I agree. It looks like Surefour's trying to collect the Infinity Stones. Hopefully some wins along the way. So I got an opal ring. You can have it if you beat me in an arm wrestle lane. Come see me afterwards. I'll give it to you.
Sure, just buy the ring. No,
I can say it's easy. Fine. I mean, that would have been more fun. It's content, bro. It's content. Let's talk about our player of the match, though, for this series. And there's so many candidates on the side of the Toronto Defiant, but today it's going to be Lane Surefour Roberts. Only one Sapphire ring. Well, that's enough to do the job.
Difference maker, you know, they lose map number 1. He comes in for the rest of the series. They're able to win there on out. I think he provides a ton of leadership, flexibility in the damage dealer position, right? Like you kind of alluded to on stage, he can really play just about anything. It's kind of odd to see a team where Surefour is not their standout Widowmaker player right here.
Aggression.
They're beat him down. Taking out XZ doesn't matter how you get it done.
No respect.
See Surefour's stats on the Reaper in the series.
Yeah, I mean, that final blows per 10 minutes stat is top tier, by the way. Obviously, 1 per minute at least. It's a big deal for DPS players. Surefour
anything
is
above
definitely
10
up there.
is phenomenal.
Yes. So he's feeling pretty good about that one. If you look at the ratio between that and his depths, you've got to be happy if you're Lane Robertson. If you're to the Toronto Defiant, you were so quiet last season. Now you've got superstar faces. You've got like all these pin-ups, pin-up boys of the Overwatch League, and you're backing it up with some big results, but there's much more we need to see from them still.
I mean, I think for Toronto, it's a good first win. You see you have some explosive players who can take over games, but it's a very long season. I think with Paris, it's still a wait and see, right? You have some of their best and brightest additions not able to play yet. So I think it's a waiting period, almost like the Shock in Season 1 up until some of those young guys can play.
It's the first chapter being inked, but there's more to come after the break.
What's that?
I think, yep, it's the NYXL take on the London Spitfire in a transatlantic battle to kick things off for the home team. Do not miss it. We'll be back with that.
And by TeamSpeak, the official.